All right, everyone, this is our final concluding session here for an introduction to web scraping. And at this point, while it's the end of the videos, it's very much the beginning for you to go out and apply these skills and experiment with Dataminr. It's a little bit of a learning curve. It's frustrating in the beginning, but as with any software, the more you use it, the easier it is to deal with. But let's recap from the introduction the aims of this course. They were to scrape data from the internet. I've shown you how to do that in the videos, and now it's time for you to start creating recipes, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't, and inspecting different parts of the code. And another key part of the course was to understand the possibilities and limits of web scraping. So we've seen in the tutorials various examples of how sometimes the data we get isn't perfect, sometimes we can't grab it in the way that we want, just because of the way the website is programmed. So web scraping does have its limitations, but it definitely does also have a number of positives, like automatically collecting lots of data, as we did with pagination. So another part of the course was to learn the basic structure of a website. Try to understand a little bit what tags are doing and how they make up a web page. So of course, I don't expect you to be a web designer, expert, programmer in this short time, but basically looking to see that there are aspects of the back-end code that you see highlighted on the front end, and just trying to make sense of that. And also, the key aim is that you'll be able to build scrapers or recipes that get the data that you want out of a website when that is possible to do. So what have we actually learned how to do? We learned about CSS selectors and how we can navigate through them to find how parts of the front-end website are coded on the back end. We've also learned about pagination, how we can move through different pages of results and collect those automatically if they are in a nice structured list like we have here. We've also learned the difference between list pages and details pages, and that we have to make two different recipes to collect the data from each type of page. And we've also learned how to customize recipes to get things like hyperlinks and text data, such as the names of our Michelin star restaurants. Now, after some practice, because you definitely need to go out and just try using Dataminr and creating recipes in order to get better at web scraping. Really, more practice equals a better understanding of how this all works. So after trying that out a few times on your own, maybe going back to the videos and tutorials once you have a better understanding of working with Dataminr, you should be able to create a recipe for list pages that can capture both text and hyperlinks, so the difference between text and attributes. You should be able to paginate automatically, so to set the scraper to go to the next page, collect data, go to the next page, and collect data. And you should be able to save those results as a spreadsheet or a .csv file that can be opened up and make sense, doesn't have a lot of missing data, and gives you the results that you actually want. So you should also be able to create a recipe for details pages that can capture text, that works for all other kinds of details pages, so that your one recipe will collect what you want consistently. There's not gaps in the data. And using the scrape and append feature of Dataminr, you can go back and forth between web pages and automatically scrape those details into a CSV file. So how that looks actually on Dataminr is to do pagination with list pages, so to automatically go from page to page. that's under this type of scrape. If you want to build a list of details pages, so using scrape and append, that's here. So next page automation is really for list pages, and scrape and amend is more for detailed pages. There are extra resources. DataMiner itself has some great videos that will also walk you through recipes, because I know that's probably still confusing to some of you. Go and check those out. Go back to the tutorial videos here, and you should be able to figure it out if you're starting with pretty simple websites, right? If you go to try to apply these skills directly to just a, super flashy website, a dynamic web page that's doing all types of crazy movements, don't go for that. Go for a web page where you see there's a clear, structured list, and when you're using your selectors, it's actually grabbing what you want it to grab. Sometimes you just need to change the website when you're in the beginning and just play around and see, what can you grab and what can you not grab. But just want to emphasize that there are other sets of videos out there that help with DataMiner. And practice. There's just no substitute for trying these tools out in real life. And there are going to be things that you don't understand why they're working. My advice, again, is to go to the back-end code and try to understand what's happening with the website. So some tips. Look for websites that have pretty simple, consistent details pages, that have pagination, so it's easy to go from one page to the next. And when you're stuck, inspect the source code, open up the developer tools, and try to see where your information is in the back-end code. Ask yourself, is it a text or an attribute or a URL? What is the format of the information you want? And just to highlight that if something isn't working, probably one of the first steps is just to play with the different settings on DataMiner. Change your search from text to URL to other attribute, and see also what DataMiner suggests for you. Sometimes it will give you a list of different attributes and you can click one. And we've seen examples of that in the tutorial. And the ultimate goal of web scraping is to create a spreadsheet that is well formatted. So this is one from Books to Scrape from the first tutorial, and we have no missing data, everything where it's right supposed to be, and it is just nicely formatted. In this example, it's not nicely formatted because we have missing rows. Sometimes the recipe is not even picking up entire web pages because it's coded differently. We're missing specific pieces of information. So something is broken in our recipe, and we should go back and try to fix the problem so that we have a data set that looks much more like the top version than the bottom version. So this is no good. Basic advice, check to see if you're missing data. If you're missing data, try to understand why, and if you can't resolve it, delete the missing data. Come back to it when you've upgraded a little bit in reading your HTML code. So we've been working with DataMiner in this class, but there are other extensions for Chrome. There's other tools out there. I want to highlight that they more or less work the same way. So this is an example, Visual Web Scraper, another option. Probably going to have some slightly different ways of building a recipe, for example, but the basic idea is the same. You'll be selecting and the tool will be guessing. So I've tried a bunch of these tools and I found that DataMiner tends to be the easiest to get up and running with quickly, even though it does have different plans. You can do quite a lot with the free version and just see if web scraping is something that you'd like to go with further to collect this type of data in a research project, or can perhaps be used for whatever other type of purpose that you might want to get some data from the internet. So this concludes our introduction to web scraping, and good luck out there applying these tools. And remember, It's always frustrating in the beginning. Just stick with it and watch the tutorials, watch the videos on Dataminr, and you'll be able to get quite a lot of data from the internet after this basic introduction. So thank you for watching.